Welcome back to the Varsity Voices High School Sports Talk. I'm Joe Frevaletti, and here with me is my co-host, Dan Frevaletti. And in this episode, we're diving into week 3 of the Chicago Catholic League football season. Another Friday and Saturday of hard-hitting action, big plays, and defining moments across the conference. We'll break down the marquee matchups, spotlight the standout performers, and talk about what these results mean as teams continue to shape their identities heading into the heart of the season. In addition to that, we'll also announce our Zuko's Dog of the Week winner for this week. So settle in and let's relive all the excitement from week 3 here on the Varsity Voices. So Dan, there definitely was some excitement this week with some really good games.
If you are looking to buy or sell a home, contact RE/MAX Realtor and Circle of Legends recipient Christopher Cobb. Let Chris's extensive negotiating experience work to guide you on all of your real estate buying and selling needs. Contact Christopher now to discuss the right strategy for your personalized real estate buying and selling plan. His number is 630-420-0070, or you can visit his website at christophercobb.com. Yeah, little bit of everything. You had some back and forth. You had games come down to the wire. You had wins in on 2-point conversions, couple blowouts, but all in all, a really good week.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm sure you'll mention this, Dan, but a couple teams that we were kind of on the fence regarding backs against the wall, BATW.
Oh, yeah.
Firmly backs against the wall now, right?
For sure.
So let's get into this. Let's recap some of the games, and I'll get us started here, Dan, with Brother Rice and St. Rita. So on Friday night, Brother Rice showed us why it's one of the teams to watch this year in the Chicago Catholic League. They knocked off St. Rita 28-10 in a real battle in the Chicago Catholic League. So Brother Rice goes to 3-0 on the season, and they hand St. Rita their second straight loss. Brother Rice struck early and often, steadily kept St. Rita at arm's length. They strong defense, opportunistic offense. St. Rita had its moments, but they couldn't overcome a Brother Rice unit that really minimized their mistakes, made the plays when they counted. It was really kind of a statement performance as far as I'm concerned for Brother Rice over St. Rita. Not necessarily a blowout, anything like that, but I think it's one that underscores Brother Rice momentum and ability to win when the pressure's up. I think that's really good for them going forward. CJ Gray, had another really good game, 2 touchdown passes. So Brother Rice is really clicking.
Really good.
They are good. They've played some really good opponents, and they've come out on top. So Brother Rice is 3-0.
Yeah, Joe, that they looked the part. They're playing like it. I think they needed to get off to a great start, and so before they get into the blue division, and it sets up, some great games, potential games within their division.
All right, so who do you have, Dan?
All right, let's start with a great game, Joe. St. Lawrence defeats Notre Dame 15-14. And Joe, this game was a rock fight. It was 7-7 with 6 minutes left in the game. Notre Dame scores and converts to take a 14-7 lead, with little time remaining on the clock and in the game. But St. Lawrence comes down the field and scores with 12 seconds to go. Conventional wisdom says you might kick that at home,
right,
and play for overtime and St. Lawrence, I think, was at home. But Coach Swanson decides to go for broke, and he's rewarded by that decision from Jimmy McDermott completing the 2-point conversion and winning the game. Literally, that play won it for him. It was one of those games where kids were storming the field. It was a great atmosphere and a great win for St. Lawrence. Notre Dame, really strong performance. And although a crushing loss, you're going to have stuff to build on with this for sure.
For sure.
St. Lawrence gets those same type of lessons, but comes out with the win, which is always, the better side.
It is the better side.
Yes. Yeah. So Lawrence has a big game next week. They host Carmel, and that's going to be a big one. Notre Dame hosts Providence, and another big one, the Dons against the Celtics. So it should be exciting, but St. Lawrence wins this one 15-14, Joe.
15-14. What I liked about this, and we were watching this game together, Dan, as it came down to the end, was It seems to me like Coach Swanson knows the talent that he's got on his roster and who he should use in certain situations. And I really like the way he brought in sophomore Noah Taylor,
Yeah,
quarterback, came
yeah,
in, brought him in for that last drive, drove him down the field, got that touchdown. Then he switches to McDermott and for the
yeah,
2-point conversion, and they win the game. So
yeah.
that tells me
That's
that
definitely.
he's got something there. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing and getting experience with Taylor, the sophomore, and when he needs something that has that calls for some experience and it goes back to McDermott, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so let's move on to the Mount Carmel versus Nazareth game. Huge game, as everybody knows. That was a top 10 showdown in LaGrange Park. That was at Nazareth. Number 1, Mount Carmel squaring off against number 5, Nazareth Academy. And early on, Dan, this game looked kind of like a slugfest. Both teams traded touchdowns in the first quarter, tied it at 7-7. But the second quarter really belonged to Mount Carmel and Emmett Dowling, their quarterback, who's really proving that he can kind of step right in where Jack Elliott left off last year. So at halftime, Carmel built a 28-17 lead, but Nazareth comes back again and scores a couple of touchdowns. But there was a point in the game where Mount Carmel's Tavares Harrington intercepted a pass in the end zone, which really kind of shut down Nazareth at that point. And I think Nazareth never really recovered from that, right? So all of the guys from Mount Carmel that you expect, especially Quentin Burrell, they stepped up, and the end score in this was 42-23, Carmel over Nazareth. But one of the things that I really noticed in this game, and we've talked about this in the first 2 weeks, Mount Carmel has got a ton of talent. But Nazareth, I really kind of stuck with it in this game, and they were battling them through all 4 quarters, I think. So that says something about Nazareth, too, to me, that they are a very talented team, and they are in the discussion for sure in some of the top teams within the state of Illinois this year.
Yeah, they are. They're not going to give a quarter to anybody,
Nope,
and nor should they have to. So yeah, they're loaded. So
they are.
so they it doesn't surprise me to hear you say that,
All right, so
Joe.
what do you
Yeah,
got?
I'm going to go with the game that I was at for the Varsity Voices sidelines. Montini defeats Marist 28-21. First and foremost, I have to thank Montini for the hospitality. They
For
were
sure.
just
Yeah.
outstanding, accommodating, from Coach Bukowski to their booster club people to the president of the school, Kevin Byrne, for hopping on and joining us when he didn't have to. We didn't have a plan to do that. Just everything is top notch there. They brought me the arancini on the sidelines, which
Nice.
was just amazing.
Yeah.
They were as good as I'd hoped, and yeah, enjoyed every bit of those. But the game was a great game, Joe. Kind of a back and forth affair. It was 7-0, then 7-7, 14-7, 14-14, up to 21, and Montini pulls ahead, 28-21, and Marist is driving again. And, Marist got great play from quarterback. I don't have his first name. Last name Hosty. It feels like there's Hosties all over the Catholic League.
Right. There were hosties at Fenwick last year.
Yes, yes. He came in after Luke DeTemple got hurt early in the first quarter, and he used his legs a lot, and he was really good in this game. But Izzy Abrams was every bit as good. He was awesome with long. His runs are so fun to watch. They wind around, and he's the master of giving that dead leg.
He
It reminds me
is.
of kind of. Vince Young back in the day from Texas,
Right.
going way back.
Yeah.
But yeah, these teams traded scores throughout the night. Izzy Abrams, like I said, ran for 2 in the first half. Marist has a tough go, and they are definitely backs against the wall as they enter division play. Joe, but Montini moves to 3-0, and they will be hosting 3-0 Fenwick next week
That's
in what looks
huge
to be
game.
one of the games of the week.
Yeah.
Marist, on the other hand, will host Joliet Catholic, of 2 teams who are 0-3, who you'd never thought would be 0-3.
No, quite a surprise.
So
yeah.
something's got to break there. I don't think either one of those. I don't think anyone else in the state would choose to play. They said if someone said you can play an 0-3 team this week, but it's Joliet Catholic or Marist. People would say absolutely not,
I'm not playing them.
absolutely not. Nope, no way. So yeah, something's got to give there, but yeah, Montini wins this one 28-21 to go to 3-0.
ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a devastating illness that weakens the muscles we use to move, swallow, and breathe. Over time, it becomes fatal. On average, people live just 2 to 5 years after diagnosis. There's no cure yet, but thanks to research and clinical trials at the Les Turner ALS Center at Northwestern Medicine, we're getting closer every day. This fight is personal for me and Dan. Our brother-in-law passed away from ALS a couple of years ago. That's why I want to invite you to join the ALS Walk for Life on Saturday, September 20th at Soldier Field, hosted by Chicago's Les Turner ALS Foundation. Funds raised support their mission to provide comprehensive care for people living with ALS, their families, and to advance life-changing research. Come be part of the movement. There'll be food trucks, live entertainment, and fun for the whole family. Together, we can honor loved ones, support those battling ALS today, and bring hope for a cure tomorrow. Learn more or register now at alswalkforlife.org. Okay, so I've got St. Ignatius versus Dan. IC came into Friday night. They were unbeaten. We've talked about what a good start to the season they've had, and they left with another win, taking down St. Ignatius 33-12, so pretty convincingly. And I think from the opening drive, the Knights were sharp. Nate Lang threw for over 200 yards, so they found a quarterback there at IC. He's only a junior, and he looks really good. Grant Bowen hit him twice in the end zone for touchdowns. Bowen finished with nearly 80 receiving yards. And even though IC was really kind of leaning on the pass, they also moved the ball on the ground as well. They had almost 100 rushing yards. St. Ignatius had some moments in this game, but they couldn't match what IC kind of brought to the table. So, IC now goes to 3-0. St. Ignatius falls to 1-2, so I'm not sure if Ignatius falls into that backs against the wall category or not yet, but IC definitely has got things rolling this year, 3-0, and they're looking forward to continue that next week.
Yeah, and they're young too.
They are very young.
They're doing it with young guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Joe, moving on. Providence defeats Carmel in a great game. So Trey Taylor was outstanding as Carmel tried to come back from a 27-7 deficit. But the story of this game at the quarterback position was the play of Dominic Vita, sophomore at Providence, who was just outstanding with both his arm and his legs. He was just dynamic. He ran for 130-ish, threw for 150-ish, and had TDs running and passing. Like I said, Carmel showed great resolve in coming back, but we know that there's no moral victories with that club. So right. Big win for Providence as they move to 2-1, and Carmel falls to 2-1. So it looks like, as we're talking here, it looks like we are getting a couple new names that are jumping out at the quarterback position. We knew it wasn't going to be kind of a struggle that maybe we thought it might be going into the season at the quarterback position, but We've got a couple new names to watch, and Dominic Vita is definitely one.
You know what I was surprised with, Dan? And only because I had not seen him play all that much. He's only a sophomore, Dominic Vita. The speed he has. Yeah. We've talked a lot about over the last 2 years, really, the dual threat quarterbacks within the Chicago Catholic League. And this kid, Dominic Vita, he not only has a really good arm and can throw the ball, but he is really fast. Yeah. I mean, I saw him score
and
tough. Yes. So they've got something there for sure in Dominic Vita. So another really good game that we were looking forward to was Loyola versus St. Francis. So Friday night in Wheaton, we saw Loyola kind of flex who they are and their offensive firepower. You and I talked about, since they didn't have a week 2 game, was that going to affect them at all? It didn't affect them at all, Dan.
Nope.
No. St. Francis came out, grabbed the early lead, but Loyola answered back. Matthew Lee, Loyola's quarterback, he threw for 3 touchdowns for the Ramblers. I'm trying to think of his name. The wide receiver.
Jordan McKinley?
Yes, Jordan McKinley had 4 touchdowns, 2 receiving, 2 rushing. They found somebody there in Jordan McKinley, who's an outright star already as a sophomore. And Matthew Lee is going to have somebody that he can play with and work with over the next couple years, and they're going to be a duo that's something to watch. Yeah. St. Francis, Brock Phillip, their quarterback, put up some big yardage, over 300 passing yards again. He did throw 2 interceptions, which kind of hurt St. Francis in this game. Despite St. Francis gaining more total yardage than Loyola in this game, Loyola was really efficient and had the momentum really most of the game in this, and had the big play ability as well. So Loyola improves to 2-0. St. Francis takes its first loss of the season. Now they sit at 2.
Joe, you talked about efficiency there. And in my mind, no one is more efficient at the quarterback position than Jamin Williams at Fenwick.
Yeah.
He and he kind of led them to their victory 43-26 over Joliet Catholic. 3 touchdowns. And Raphael Stewart is a wide receiver that continues to grow as one of the league's best. Of course, the Thies brothers were involved as they each had a pick, and I think Jake had a TD. Lucas Similik threw for 3 touchdowns, but the Hilltoppers just could not keep the Friars out of the end zone, and while Joliet Catholic had a brief lead in this game, they couldn't hold on, and they fall to 0-3. Joliet Catholic hosts Naz in what is absolutely a must-win game, as their backs are firmly against the wall. Fenwick, as we talked about earlier, has a monster game at Montini. That's going to be something. I'm sure it'll be an awesome atmosphere out there. So, yeah, Fenwick moves 3-0, and Joliet Catholic falls to 0-3.
Okay, so 2 0-2 teams, Dan, coming into this week were Marion Catholic and DePaul Prep, and DePaul Prep snapped that streak in convincing fashion. They beat Marion Catholic 43-9. They built some momentum, a lot of momentum, behind a name that we haven't mentioned all that much this year, Tyson Hooks. He's a sophomore running back for them, who just went absolutely crazy. Rushed for over 200 yards in only about 15 carries. So they've definitely found something here in Tyson Hooks. Maybe it changes their approach a little bit going forward, and I think that's what they were looking to do in this game. They made the big plays when they needed it. Marion Catholic showed some flashes in this game, but could not keep up with DePaul Prep. So DePaul Prep goes to 1-2 with the 43-19 win over Marion Catholic. Marion Catholic drops to 0-3. They've got to regroup here and see what they can do over the next coming weeks. But DePaul Prep gets in the win column, which I think is huge for them. And they are now 1-2, now heading into, I'll call it division play next week.
Into division play.
Yes.
Intra.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Sticking with the in the purple a little bit. So Bennett defeated De La Salle 55-0. So another quarterback that is showing his ability to run. So they're still out there, Joe. That dual threat quarterback.
Yes.
Jack Clevenger rushed for 3 touchdowns. Luke Doyle had 2 touchdowns. I think 1 receiving and 1 rushing. So the Red Wings defeat the struggling Meteors 55-0. De La Salle is young, and they're going to be overmatched in most of these games. But I do think the future is brighter for these guys if they continue to stick with it. Bennett moves to 2-1 and has a big game next week at St. Viator in their first Purple Division matchup.
Okay. All right, so we had a Saturday game, Dan, and that was Leo versus St. Patrick. Leo coming in at 2-0, and I think St. Patrick was, I think they were 2-0 as well, right? Or no 1-1.
They lost week 1 to Yorkville.
They were 1-1. So this was Saturday afternoon. St. Patrick came out firing and never looked back in this game. They rolled past Leo 42-8. So, they lit up the scoreboard early. They put up 21 points in the first quarter, another 21 in the second to build a 42-0 halftime lead in this game. Their quarterback, Gavin Gardner, he was in complete control. He threw for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns in just the first half. including an 82-yard touchdown strike to Joseph Costanzo, and that set the tone. He spread the ball around too, which I really like to see with St. Pat's. You got Timmy Shayer involved, Jaden Miranda, both wide receivers contributing some key catches. Defense was big in this as well, obviously only giving up 8 points, but Emmanuel Day stepped in front of a pass, took it 35 yards to the house for pick 6. And Leo finally kind of broke through in the third quarter behind their quarterback, Trent Watson, but it was too little, too late. So now both of these teams go to 2-1 on the season. So even though Leo suffers its first loss of the season, they're still 2-1. Tom Zibikowski and St. Pat's are looking like they're finding their identity here on offense, and they moved to 2-1 as well. So things are not all that bad. Even though Leo got the loss, they're still 2-1. They've got got some big games coming up, and St. Pat's as well moves on and see if they can build on this.
All right, Joe. So one of the bigger surprises of the weekend, Marmion defeats St. Viator in one of the surprise scores. Like I said, they beat him 28-0. Marmion just got a great performance from Roy Magana and an absolute breakout performance from Henry Miller, the running back, who had 27 carries for 144 yards. He's a beast. Yeah, he runs with purpose, and I was really, really impressed with their defense.
Yeah,
they did. St. Viator was kind of that looked like that team that could go 20-20, pretty good, but had a hard time doing anything inside the red zone. Marmion stopped him a few times. Like I said, I was impressed. Their defense they showed that ferocious swarm, that I like to see, and they had Vincenzo Testa at linebacker and Stephen Carlson D line, both played really well. So great win for Marmion as they go to 2-1, and St. Viator is 1-2.
All right, so some really good defensive performances again this week, Dan, and you just mentioned a couple. I did as well, and it's that time of the week, right?
Here we go. Yep, there he is.
All right, there he is. That's Zuko. And I think, Dan, it's time to talk about some of the defensive players or defensive standouts that we saw this week in some of the different games, and give the people our Zuko's Dog of the Week winner for week 3.
All right. Well, Joe, so going to start with some of these. Some again you've seen and read about, and some I saw at Montini. Blake Pullman, Montini D lineman, recovered a fumble late. It looked a lot like last year's Byron game, so it looked like Maris was going in to score. Right? Do I have that right, Joe? That's
yes.
That's who I thought it was. Yeah,
yep,
he recovered that fumble.
Mm-hmm.
He's a defensive lineman, so that was a big play on defense. Our guy Santino Tenuta, a couple tackles for loss. They are playing some tough defense. That was kind of a grinded out, bloody your nose type of game.
Yeah,
a
sure.
lot of hitting back and forth.
Yeah.
For Providence, Joe, Anthony Mautone, 2 tackles for loss. Really nice game. Excuse me. For Providence. So he's definitely a special mention this week. Charlie Barkmeyer for Brother Rice was outstanding. Very good for Brother Rice as they continue to roll and just have new names step up week in and week out. Tavares Harrington for Mount Carmel. He was an all over the field guy, right?
For
this
sure,
week?
all over the field, and I felt like without him, the game might have been a little bit different. Maybe the outcome wasn't, but definitely a different game without him on the field. Yeah.
Interception in the end zone,
yes,
right, to keep Naz out.
Yep.
Yeah,
keep Naz
that's
out
a big
of the
deal.
end zone. Yep.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Day for St. Pat's with a pick 6, which is always something that is a good way to get on the list. I mentioned Stephen Carlson, D lineman for Marmion, a couple sacks and kind of flying around, big energy guy. But Joe, the dog of the week for this week, I always say the what's becoming like the biggest factor is when I watch, I'm able to watch a little film and it's like, whoa, this guy jumps off the video.
Yeah.
So, and that is Vincenzo Testa, linebacker from Marmion.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was waiting for the clap.
I was going to give it to you, but
right.
What do you want, clap or cheer?
Clap is good.
All right. There you go.
There you go. Thank you. And, Joe, what I like about Testa was that he was in on the first tackle when they were in a defense. He was in on a critical tackle, like the last play they had on defense, and everywhere in between. He had 14 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and I like watching him play because when he hits somebody, he does with a purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And that runner is done. It's instant down, no additional leg drive, no moving forward. He is there and the play is over. So he kind of erases the running back and receivers when he gets to him. So really, really had an outstanding game. To lead Marmion to a shutout over St. Viator, which has some offensive weapons for sure. Just an outstanding performance and definitely a step above and really earned Zuko's dog of the week.
All right. Well, congratulations to Vinny Testa for winning this week's Zuko's Dog of the Week award. And one thing on that, Dan, I remember when we interviewed Coach Guerra, maybe 2 months ago, he mentioned Vinny Testa and that he was going to be relying on him to be big on the defense. So it's really good to see him step up this week and step up in a huge way, for sure. Yeah. All right. So congratulations, Vinny, again. And that's a wrap on our week 3 recap in the Chicago Catholic League. The storylines just keep getting better, and the competition is only heating up as we move deeper into the season. A big thank you to everyone tuning in, whether you're a player, coach, parent, or diehard fan of high school football. This community is what makes the Chicago Catholic League so special. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share the Varsity Voices so you never miss an episode. Until next time, thanks for listening, and we'll see you under the Friday Night Lights.